Hello and welcome. You're watching Global Lens and I'm Parikshit Luthra. US President Donald Trump's 25% tariff on Indian goods came into effect on August 7th and will rise to 50% from August 27th. India has called the move unjustified and vowed to prioritize its national interests. Sources say the Indian government is working on a solution aiming for a win-win deal. However, President Donald Trump has ruled out further trade talks with India until the tariff dispute is resolved. As India navigates these tariffs, the broader question looms: how will it balance ties with the US and BRICS partners, Russia and China? India, Russia and China are already moving to deepen the engagement. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to visit India later this year. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval laid the groundwork during his visit to Moscow this week. His trip came just after President Trump doubled tariffs on India over its continued oil trade with Russia. The Trump administration accused India of funding Russia's war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, India pointed out that the US and European Union continue to trade with Russia. Trump has also hinted at possible secondary sanctions on China. The Kremlin has condemned US pressure on countries to cut trade with Russia, calling such actions illegal. Meanwhile, the Chinese ambassador to India labeled Trump a bully. Xu Fihong said, and I quote, "Using tariffs as a weapon to suppress other countries violates the UN Charter, undermines WTO rules, and is both unpopular and unsustainable," end of quote. India and China too have been working to stabilize ties since Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping met on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in October 2024. PM Modi is expected to visit China to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Summit for the first time since the Galwan clashes of 2020. The summit is set to take place between 31st of August and September 1st. Ahead of that, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is likely to travel to India to discuss the broader issue with the NSA Ajit Doval. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India will have trading arrangements with other nations and will not kneel in front of anyone. He added that India contributes 16% to global growth. His comments came after Trump referred to India as a dead economy. We're now joined by Ambassador Navteej Sarna, former Indian ambassador to the United States, and Ashokk Kantha, former Indian envoy to China. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. Ambassador Sarna, if I can begin with you, it seems that our relationship with the United States is deteriorating. Is it time to make concessions, or do you feel the time is now long gone, and should India be just putting its foot down?
Well, thank you, Parikshit. Yes, you're right. I think the India-US relationship, which we have got used to saying that it has been on an upward graph for the last 25 years, is at the moment at a difficult patch, largely because of the way President Trump is approaching international trade and the politicization or the weaponization of international trade. As to whether we have to make concessions, I don't think that, just making concessions without a context is an answer or is a way of conducting foreign affairs which have to take care of national interests. Yes, we were in the middle of negotiations. Hopefully, we still are in negotiations, which will involve a certain give and take, like all negotiations, and in which both sides have to be equally happy, or as they say, equally unhappy. But simply making concessions as an act of appeasement or as an act of kowtowing to President Trump, given his inconsistent behavior and a completely unreliable idea of where this is all heading, is certainly not in India's interest. And I think it's also not in India's DNA. So I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon, no matter what the threats are. Just want to clarify that the extra 25% is still a threat. There's a 21-day window, and we don't know what will happen in these 21 days. You might actually have a Trump-Putin meeting. And if there is an engagement or an agreement towards some sort of engagement, You don't know what, Trump will stop talking about Russian oil. So let's wait and watch.
Right. We've just got information, Ambassador Kantha, that Prime Minister Modi has spoken to President Putin. President Putin briefed Prime Minister on latest developments concerning Ukraine. The Prime Minister, and this is a statement coming in from the government, the Prime Minister reiterated India's consistent position for peaceful resolution of the conflict. Leaders reaffirmed commitment to further deepen the India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership. The Prime Minister invited President Putin to visit India later this year for the annual bilateral summit. Both leaders reviewed the progress in the bilateral agenda, reaffirmed their commitment to further deepen the partnership. How do you see this conversation at a time when India and US are involved in very tense trade negotiations? This would also be important in terms of having a solution on what's happening in the US.
Well, first of all, thank you, Parikshit, for asking me to join this conversation. Prime Minister's telephonic conversation with President Putin and what has been put out by Government of India is along expected lines. As you know, National Security Advisor Mr. Ajit Doval was in Moscow a few days ago. He had met with President Putin, and it was widely expected that President Putin will come to India for annual bilateral summit. India has treated its strategic relationship with Russia as something very critical, not something which is negotiable. It has been a factor of continuity and stability in our foreign policy. So even you would have looked at comments coming from our government after President Trump indicated that he is going to impose an additional tariff for 25% because India is importing oil from Russia. Our rejoinder was quite strong there. So I believe that India's strategic engagement with Russia will continue. And this will happen no matter how developments pertaining to Ukraine shape. In fact, as you're aware, we took certain position regarding Russian operations or Russian attack on Ukraine, which took care of our national interest and also to some extent factored in circumstances under which President Putin decided to take this action. Though of course we don't quite quite believe in sovereignty and territorial integrity of any country being violated. So as far as India-Russia relations are concerned, I don't think we are going to show much, flexibility in the sense that they will not do anything under pressure. As for continued import of oil from Russia, this is also governed by market factors. Already, discount which was being made available by Russia had come down quite significantly, just to about $5 a barrel. And if you factor in insurance and other things, it was even less. So how that decision is taken, frankly, we don't know at this point of time.
Right.
But the broader relationship will continue to prioritize and do so proceeding from a strategic perspective.
Right. Ambassador Sarna, coming to you, how do you read the timing of this conversation right now? You think this could further irk Donald Trump? He's himself meeting Putin in a few days from now.
Well, I think if it irks him, then all to the good, honestly speaking. I don't think at this stage people are being really overly concerned about the way things are taken, because we have had a very rough handling by Mr. Trump. And I think India is fully within its rights to talk to other partners as and when we feel the need. I mean, Donald Trump can say that don't import Russian oil, but he can't stop the leaders from talking to each other. So I think the timing is good, in fact. I think, as I said, I mean, the point of appeasement is long gone. And I think you have to make, if you have, he's not going to take subtle messages or subtle hints. It is, we have to say, listen, we do have other partners. We are a large country with a very important relationship, not just with the US, but as Ashok just said, with the Russian Federation and several other countries. So I think that the points don't have to be subtle. We don't have to worry too much about timing. We don't have to worry too much about how Mr. Trump's sensitivities are going to be harmed by something that we do in our national interest. And we just have to do it. I think if other countries want to kowtow and give him gifts of, aeroplanes, and companies want to gift him mobiles made of 25-carat gold, by all means, let them do it. But I don't think that behoves India in any fashion to be doing any sort of appeasement anymore. We have been nice. We have done a fair amount of appeasement. We've done a fair amount of flattery, if I may use that word. And I think the time for that is now over.
Right. That's an important point, Ambassador Sarna. Now, if we were to ask you, Ambassador Kantha, the Prime Minister will be going to China later this month as well for the SCO meeting. Do you think India will probably have to reconsider, re-evaluate its ties with China at a time when the US and the position of US in the world is unpredictable? Many are saying China, despite its barriers, China, despite its aggressive maneuvers, is at least more predictable than US right now.
When we look at our relations with China, clearly the larger geopolitical context is a factor we take into account. There's no doubt about it. But let's be clear about the fact that the Prime Minister is traveling to China to attend the SCO summit. It's not a bilateral visit. And this visit was already being prepared, even prior to President Trump announcing tariff of 25% and subsequently threatening to impose another tariff of 25%. Our defense minister, Minister of External Affairs, our national security advisor had gone to SCO-related meetings to prepare for the summit. So clearly, those high-level visits suggest that Prime Minister was inclined to visit China to attend the SCO summit. Now, when we look at our relations with China, as you mentioned earlier, a degree of stability has been restored since Prime Minister met with President Xi Jinping at Kazan, Russia, on 23rd October last year. There has been some progress in terms of stabilization of situation along the borders, though we are not yet back to restoration status quo ante. There has been some progress in terms of people-centric contacts, as they put it. But the bottom line is that we have problems, both new and old, which are there, which are structural in nature. You're aware of China's behavior during Operation Sindoor, the 4-day conflict with Pakistan, when for the first time there was evidence of battlefield collusion between China and Pakistan, something which had not happened in earlier India-Pakistan conflicts. Likewise, China has decided to go ahead with the humongous, hydropower project just next to us. And construction of that project started on 19th July, when Premier Li Qiang visited Tibet. There are no other indicators which are not very helpful, including acts of economic coercion on part of China, denial of supply of rare earth magnets, specialized fertilizers, tunnel boring machines, withdrawal of Chinese nationals of Foxconn factories. All these do not quite augur well. So while
Right.
you'd like to have greater stability and improvement in relations, much depends on how responsive Chinese are to our concerns and interests.
All right, we're going to take a break, but don't go anywhere. We will be discussing the Prime Minister's call with President Putin in more detail shortly. We'll be right back.